This is a trade recap for June the 27th of 2012. This video is being done 2.5 weeks later. That video was corrupted, and I've been meaning to for a couple weeks now to get to that video and redo it. So this is the 27th of June 2012. We turn down my system's alerts there. On the 27th of June, we'll go into the pre-market and we'll go to the regular trading session. I won't be able to switch from 5 minutes to 2 minute systems because the calculation process for the computer, it'll literally take 3 to 5 minutes to recalculate everything over again. It's talking about having to go back 10,000 bars, every single bar's worth of tick data. It takes an AMD 8-core chip with 3.9 gigahertz on each core, about 3 minutes to do it. It's an extremely huge integer calculation process which takes about 3 minutes to do. So to make things simple, let me just walk through the trades here. The pre-market actually was a very uneventful pre-market morning. It had a total of 0 ticks. There was, now this again is using the 2-minute system right now, okay, so that I can go into the regular trading session without having to recalculate all over again. The pre-market had a trade on the 5-minute that made 6 ticks on its first entry with the runner brought to break even being stopped out. It then had another trade going short, a primary entry close at market open. There was a primary entry short at about 8:45, which would have been closed one candle before the market's open at 9:30, which is a rule for closure. That lost 3 ticks times 2 contracts. So 1 contract times 6 ticks against 2 contracts at 3 ticks each of loss is a net of 0 for the pre-market session. As for the regular trading session on the 27th, we don't take the first trade upon open. We're looking at reasons to take the trade upon open if they're validated by the 30-minute system, which is an extremely successful system that we're using now in the room to trade. So we're looking at validation. If the 30-minute is in an upward movement, we would take a market open. If it's in a down movement, we would take it down, a short. But we're analyzing that right now over the next few weeks. Today is July the 12th when I'm doing this video. Here we have a sprint that came in. From open here, it nearly made its 10 ticks. It made 9. From the open price up here, it was 9 ticks, but we're looking for 10, so it's 1 tick off. It was then closed at the first cautionary opposite direction triangle. Next week, these triangles will appear as yellow, so it'll be a yellow triangle will dictate a close of a sprint or a scalp, the first one. So it was closed here, and the room closed this trade quickly when I told them to. As you can see, prices dropped precipitously once this triangle appeared. The triangle appears on the first tick of the bar. From that point, after the close of people in the trade, the prices dropped significantly. 4 ticks of profit on the sprint. This sprint was inside the yellow. We don't take a sprint inside of the yellow. The open price was, it needs to be at least greater than 1 tick. Actually, excuse me, 2 ticks. So this was a sprint that did not, actually, I'm sorry, the sprint was really 1 bar over. This is really the sprint trade. And the sprint trade was inside of the yellow. The next bar that printed this, it was really supposed to be 1 bar over. This was a glitch that the programmer, developer, and I have talked about. It's supposed to print on the first bar. If it doesn't, if it's not outside the yellow on the first bar, then it's not to print on the second bar. So this was a trade that people in the room were told not to take at 11:45 in the morning. If it was taken, as you can see from entry here, ended up closing at the triangle. It lost a few ticks. If it was taken here, it lost about 4 ticks, but it wasn't taken in the room. These scalp numbers are all inside of the yellow, therefore they're not to be taken. Now to talk about these scalp numbers, when they're inside the yellow, as long as they're inside the yellow enough room to make profit before they go up against the yellow, which the yellow tends to be a very difficult thing to go through for reasons that are too complicated to explain right now based on the algorithms. This trade was a trade that several traders did take in the room. It was a scalp number that came up, first scalp number in a series, first scalp number across the white line, and it was well inside the yellow. If you look at the open price here at 13.25 and a quarter, the yellow at that time was 13.26 and 3/4. It was enough room to take the risk to make 8 ticks, and a number of traders took this trade, got in here, went up. When it hit the yellow, they moved their stop loss to break even, and it still made the 8 ticks from open price here, 13.25 and 3.25 to 13.27 and a half. Excuse me, and a quarter. This made 8 ticks. A number of traders made 8 ticks on this trade, but I'm not counting it for profit because it's not a confirmed rule yet. But it will be in the next coming days. Inside the yellow, as long as we have room to take a trade, it's okay to take it. First scalp number in the series. These scalps are intra-series scalps. They're not valid to take. But this scalp again was. And again, several traders made money on this. Just before 12 o'clock when we cut off and don't take any more trades, happened at 11:58. But there's a lot of good pushes between 11:30 and 12:15. Very often you get very good moves up until about 12:15. A nice final push by the European and London trading desks. Going forward here, we have lunchtime now. Now we have a short cautionary trade. It made 8 ticks from its open price down to here. That's 8 ticks of profit. Only one contract on that, no runner. And then this one we have a trade that was taken at 3:16. Its open price was the chase price at 25.75. It made 8 ticks from here to there. And then the runner, there was a runner trade, but the runner trade was obviously stopped out at break even right here. So the total for the regular trading session was 20 ticks on the ES runner on the 27th of July 27th of June 2012. Now for the euro. The euro had a more challenging day that day. It lost 23 pips total. We go back here to 2 o'clock in the morning where we take profits from. The first entry was here, short. It had to be exited on a medium impact news release if it was in a negative position. That's the rule. If you're in a negative, you exit. If you're in a positive, you move it up to break even. Either way, when the 4:30 news release came out right here, this trade was knocked out at break even. Then there was a primary scalp that came in. First turn down on the stop loss line, the smart line after at least 10 periods was right here. That one lost 3 pips from open price to open price here when the first opposite direction triangle came in. And then we had another sprint right here, but unfortunately this sprint was just before an 8:30 news release within 15 minutes, therefore it's not valid to take. Here's the 8:30 release. So this was not a valid trade to take. This primary scalp came in, valid scalp, it lost 15 pips, and then the sprint on the first turn down of the smart line after at least 10 periods right here went towards profit about 7 or 8 pips, but unfortunately with close at the open of the first opposite direction triangle. Again, this will be yellow going forward next week for 5 pips of loss. So the euro lost 23 pips on this day. Still, the euro maintains a very high success rate, about 84%, averaging about 35 to 40 pips each day, about 40 pips, a little bit over some weeks, a little bit under other weeks. So if you can make 40 pips a day on average on the euro, it's a very good system. 20 pips a day on euro trading is great. And so that's a profit for the 27th. Thank you very much. If you need to contact me, please reach me at info@es-runner.com. Otherwise, go to the website, www.es-runner.com. The website is currently under construction to be redone in the coming weeks. And there's also a signal service and a managed account service coming out in the next 2 weeks. Taking into consideration our 30-minute system, which has an extremely high success rate, we'll be using that for the managed account and signal service at very reasonable cost, given the extraordinary profit of both systems. Of the system, that is, as well as the shorter time frame 2-minute and 5-minute intraday systems. They do very well, but those are more for traders in the room trading each day. They still use a 30-minute system to trade as well, but the managed account and signal service will be based on the 30-minute system. Thanks very much. Look forward to seeing you in the room. Bye-bye.